Hello viewer, welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. I'm your host, Eunice Mugo. Today on the show, we are talking about breast cancer. Do you know what is breast cancer? Do you have a patient, do you have a family friend, a sister, a brother who is suffering from breast cancer? What is the shocking part? What is the struggles, the challenges that you face when you're handling him or her? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. I'm not alone. I have a guest who is going to help us to understand better about breast cancer. I will allow him to introduce himself. Welcome, guest.
Hello everyone, my name is Steve Adudans. I'm a medical doctor. I work with Gear Health and we are passionate about wellness and well-being for the population. Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Asante.
To start with, October being the month of breast cancer awareness, what is breast cancer?
Now breast cancer is a cancer that affects the breast tissue. And the breast tissue is in both men and women. And the breast is usually composed of the skin, the nipple, there's some fuzzy tissue, there are ducts and lobules where milk is produced, and then there is something we call the lymphatic tissue. This is a tissue that drains the breast and goes to the lymph nodes that are usually in the armpit, what we call the axilla. So that is what constitutes the breast tissue. So it's important that we note that breast cancer can affect both men and women. Now, breast cancer is in a class of diseases what we call lifestyle diseases. These are diseases that are not transmissible by contact. So we call them non-communicable diseases. So they affect people because of the lifestyle choices they have. And we can see later what are some of those choices and what are the risks involved in getting breast cancer.
Okay, now that you mentioned about risk, what are these risks that we are exposed to so that one will end up, because at times cancer, we are told, is also hereditary, given that genes, if your grandfather had it, your father, it's like you're inheriting it. So you say it's not possible, but it's a lifestyle. So do you have cases whereby you can have everyone in your family having cancer, but you are not having?
So what happens with the lifestyle diseases is that the more risks one has, the likelihood of them getting. So if you have one risk, doesn't mean that you're going to get it. However, the more risk somebody has, the likelihood of them getting. Now we can divide the risks into two. There are those you cannot change and the ones you can change. So let's look at the ones you cannot change. So one is age. Women especially who are above the age of 55 are likely to have breast cancer compared to those who are below the age of 55. So you cannot change your age. So for those who are above that age, there are more risk. Secondly is the gender. Women are likely to get breast cancer more than men because they have more breast tissue. So if we look at genetically the gender, then women are more likely to get breast cancer. Second, the other thing is the race or the ethnicity. Whites are more likely to get breast cancer compared to blacks. So Caucasians compared to blacks, they are likely to get breast cancer. However, when blacks get or African people get breast cancer, they're likely to die compared to the whites.
Wow.
Okay. So there is the risk factor there also. So if you're black, if you get it, you're likely to die compared to a white counterpart. Okay. Now there's the genetics that you talked about. There's a gene that has been identified that confers almost 80 to 90% risk of one getting cancer if it is expressed in somebody's gene code. It's called the BRCA1 and BRCA2. Now this gene can express itself in someone, and the likelihood of them getting cancer is almost 90%. Okay. So that one we cannot change. Now the other thing is family history, which you talked about. Breast cancer, interesting enough, follows the maternal line. Okay, so if your grandmother, auntie, mother, okay, have gotten breast cancer, you're likely to get breast cancer, or you have the risk of getting breast cancer. You cannot change that also, because it follows the maternal, so it follows the mother's side.
Sure.
So not the father's side, the mother's side. Okay,
Ah,
okay.
okay.
So very important to note about that. Now the other thing is, if you're exposed, the breast actually responds to a hormone called estrogen and progesterone. So if somebody is exposed for a longer time to estrogen, then they're likely to get breast cancer. So how does it happen? One is if one gets their menarche, or they get their periods early. So if a lady gets their period before the age of 12, or if they get their menopause after the age of 55, they also have a risk, because they've been exposed to the female hormones for a longer time. Okay? Do you are you are we together on that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
so the risk still exists. Now, breast cancer why is breast cancer important actually, even before we go to the risk that one can change? Breast cancer is the number one killer of women all over the world, of the cancers. Okay. However, in Africa, it's cervical cancer and then breast cancer. But breast cancer overall kills more women worldwide of all the cancers.
Wow, okay.
So what are some of the things you can change then? Okay. Now, smoking. If one smokes, they're likely cigarettes, that is, smoking cigarettes.
Wait, how does smoking affect your breast? Are you not smoking with your mouth?
No, like I said, these are lifestyle choices. When we look at many people who've gotten cancer, and we try and see what are some of the things that they were engaged in, those who smoke, those who drink alcohol, were likely to have had breast cancer compared to those who did not. So smoking, drinking alcohol, lack of exercise. Ideally, we are supposed to exercise at least 2.5 hours, about 2.5 hours a week. Okay, 2.5
Okay.
hours a week. That's about 100 and say probably about 150
Minutes.
minutes per week. Okay, very important. Obesity. So if somebody has a BMI of over 25, then they have a higher risk, or even over 30. Let me put it over 30. Obesity over 30, a BMI of over 30, they have a higher risk of getting cancer. Now, this is going to be interesting. Hormonal-based contraceptives or family planning methods. Okay, so things like pills or injections, those ones put a risk, and you see those ones one can change. Okay, now an interesting one is breastfeeding. Okay, so women who actually have given birth and breastfed for about 2 years or so in their lifetime are less likely to get breast cancer.
Okay.
So getting children, okay? Getting a child after the age of 30 has a high risk. So I know people are told, oh, wait. Okay, but this is the thing. It's a science, okay? It's a science. All right.
Okay.
Okay. I think those are the ones one can change. Let me
No,
leave it
I'm
at that
thinking now
before
that
you
you've
get
decided
shocked.
to attack us with age.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
No, I'm thinking.
Yes.
You've said those who are not likely
Yeah.
or have less chances of acquiring now the breast cancer.
Yes.
For those who breastfeed well. So you've said no slaying. Second, getting a child early.
Yes. If you get a child early, you're less likely because you'll have broken the exposure to the estrogen. Okay.
But with our generation, no? Now that you mention about age, right now we're facing a lot of young ladies who
Yes.
are suffering from breast and cervical cancer.
True.
From the age of 25
Yes.
to the age of 35. Why is it that way? Is it because of, you mentioned lifestyle, or is it something that what is the study behind it that you're having a lot of young girls exposed to that? Because I'm now trying to walk in their shoes. People are different in their mindset, but I'm trying to think of it this way. If one gets breast cancer at the age of 25,
Yes.
or even 20, and now this person is get to the extent of also maybe being amputated for the breast,
Yeah.
will this person be in a space to even have a baby? Because now I'm thinking, if I'm a woman, I'm not going to be able to breastfeed my kid, then
Yeah.
why have a kid even in the first place? What is the study behind it that we are having a lot of young ladies having these breast cancer issues currently?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. Like I said, this breast cancer is a lifestyle disease, and the risks involved are more lifestyle risks. Okay, so lifestyles have changed. More people are driving, so people are not walking to work. Okay, more people are driving. What are people eating? How many people are able to eat 3 servings of fruits and vegetables every day? How many people are able to exercise at least 2.5 hours every week? How many people are smoking? We are talking of shisha, okay? We're talking of cigarette. How many people are doing it at this? And even there's vaping now also. How many people are smoking at a very young age? There are many. But also it's not just smoking actively. Passive smoking. You may be in a joint and people are smoking there. You think that you're okay because you're not smoking, but you're a passive smoker. Okay, so what happens is all these things taken, these exposures taken over time, they lead to somebody having the risk. People are pushing the age of getting children, okay, to over 30. Many people are using probably hormonal-based contraceptives, whether it's morning after or whether it's the regular pill that is one takes, or whether it's the injection. Okay, people are using it much earlier now. True or false?
True.
Back then, if you went to ask for family planning, they'd ask you if you're married. True or false?
True.
Yeah. Nowadays, there's no question, right? Yeah, there's no question. Who's gonna?
Why
Nobody's
is
gonna
it
ask you.
that there is no question? Is it because that right now, okay, from the study also before, it was like a lot of ladies are afraid of getting pregnant,
Yes.
even now,
Yes.
than even getting sick, even
Yes.
acquiring HIV or something. But they are so not ready for getting pregnant or
Yeah.
having kids.
Mm.
What is the catch behind it, so that is it that you are not informed or educated about the risks, now that we're talking about many risks, the risk of now using the hormonal pills and injections? You're at risk of getting now the breast cancer. You're also, if you're not being protected, you're at risk of also getting the STDs and other things. But one is comfortable not getting pregnant, and not afraid of getting the other diseases.
Yeah. Very good question. I think the society has changed quite a bit, and people are more likely to avoid things that will be evident. For example,
Okay.
nobody can know if somebody has a sexually transmitted infection
Okay.
unless they go to hospital.
Okay.
Okay. So, but one would know that somebody has gotten pregnant, okay, because it's going to show, especially for the ladies, right?
Okay.
Yes. So that is why most people would avoid getting pregnant more than thinking of infections that may arise. Now, the other thing is also our ladies have been much more empowered right now. We're dealing in an era where, excuse me, ladies are much more empowered. They can make a choice about their bodies, about their life. So they can make those choices once they reach a certain age, or if they're mature minors. They can make a choice and they can be able to decide what they can do with their bodies, which is very, very important, because we now avoid, because we can avoid teenage pregnancies, which are worse, because many women die because when they're giving birth, especially like teenage pregnant girls, right? So at least that we stop that by having access to family planning. Okay. Now the other thing also is that we have technology. People can get this from the internet. They can just go to Dr. Google, and they check and they say what kind of contraception can I get. And when they go to a medical practitioner, they will just say, I read this about this, I read this about this, and I think this probably is what I would take. Most likely the practitioner will not, will just give them advice, but once somebody has been convinced by what they've done the research on, as a medical practitioner, you just have to respect what they'd want. Okay? Yeah, yeah. You just give them the risks, they make a choice, and then you let them live with that choice. Okay? So that is the thing. But the last one is, we've also reached a place where the perception that a baby is a cost. Okay?
Sure.
Yeah. Because people see the baby as a cost, then they would rather avoid having that baby as much as possible until they're sure that they'll be able to take care of this baby.
There are a lot of uncertainty.
But we need to be sure that not having, if somebody had their breast removed, doesn't mean that they cannot nurture a baby. The most important part of nurturing a baby is the relationship between the baby and the mother.
But that is one way of getting the relationship.
But not breastfeeding only. Not breastfeeding only. I know breastfeeding gives it adds actually the natural nurturing. Okay? Yes, because it also helps the mother and the baby to bond. But nowadays there are breast milk banks.
Yeah, sure.
But also we also have alternatives or substitutes for breast milk formulas. But we do not recommend formulas, as you know. Yeah, they are not as recommended as opposed to just getting going to a breast milk bank and getting breast milk that has been donated.
On a lighter note, on the same about the breast milk bank. How do you tell that this milk is good for your baby and not the other milk? What is the science behind it in terms of when you are doing blood transfusion, you have blood group A goes with A, and you know how we group it. If it is O, it's universal. If it is A, it can only get from A and O. If it is AB, it can also get from A, B, such and such. Having that science behind blood transfusion, what is the science behind now the breast milk, so that I will donate, she will donate, the other person will donate, and this mother or this baby can only drink from her, not from me?
So breast milk doesn't have a type just like blood. It doesn't have the genetic type and those archetypes that we see in tissues. So blood is a tissue. Breast milk is not. Okay? Yeah, because blood is a tissue, that means it expresses itself in a way that ensures that your body has to mount a certain immune response because of how it expresses the receptors it has and those things. Okay, breast milk does not. Okay, so breast milk is not a tissue. Okay, just like blood is a tissue, right? Now the other thing is that breast milk has what we call immune factors, natural immune factors that we don't have in substitutes like formula. So a baby who gets breast milk is likely to have a much better immune response. So they won't have homas and all these conditions of the stomach and all that, because they have the natural immune components in the breast milk that helps the baby to fight common infections. All right. The third thing is that the breast milk that is donated is screened, and is screened for certain things that may be transmissible via breast milk. So things like infections that may be transmissible, and also certain drugs that if somebody is taking, that can be expressed through the breast milk. So before the breast milk is made safe for it to be given to someone, they've screened it for all these things and ensure that it's safe. That's all they need to do.
So if I don't want to go get the breast milk from the milk bank,
Yes.
and I have a sister who is having a small baby like I am, I can also give my sister my baby to breastfeed and with no being afraid or something?
Traditionally, that would have happened and it would have been okay. But nowadays, people ingest many things, including recreational drugs. And you don't want those recreational drugs going to the baby. But of what actually made us see the need to reduce breast milk being given without it being screened was HIV. Because back then when HIV came, we had many grandmothers who took on orphaned babies. And some of the babies, they had to breastfeed them. Problem is, some of those grandmothers had also HIV, okay? So the babies got HIV because of the breast milk, okay? So that is why we want to ensure that breast milk is safe before it's given to the babies. Yes.
Okay, interesting. So what are the early signs or warnings when it comes now to breast cancer? What can you say at an early stage if you experience ABCD? That's a go alert. You go see the doctor, get examined, and what is it that one has to look out in terms of the signs and symptoms?
So for lifestyle diseases, what we usually say is that screening or prevention is the best cure. Okay. So if one regularly has annual exams, and for women, regular monthly self breast examination, then you're likely to get the early signs of a developing breast cancer or a breast issue. Now, there are normal things that happen to the breast for the women, and this is because the breast responds to the hormones that are in women. The hormones are estrogen and progesterone. And because they respond similarly, some of the cancerous tissue also may respond the same because they are still part of the breast, okay? So there are normal lumps that can happen, during the cycle of the hormones in a woman, okay? So some of those lumps, we usually see them, and they may need to be examined, and one needs to have them checked, and they can be removed and be tested also. So do not ignore any lump. However, most of the lumps are usually normal lumps, okay? But they need to be examined and usually removed, okay, and tested. What are some of the common signs? Now, from the skin, if the skin starts changing and looking like one of an orange, something we call peau d'orange, which means the skin is starting to pucker and have how an orange looks like. It has the holes and all that. So the skin is starting to harden. Okay, that's one. Second, if the breast doesn't lift up normally, if one is doing a self-examination, and when you look at the nipple line, one breast is not on the same line as the other. Okay, so you look at are the nipples on the same line? If they're not on the same line, that breast that is not lifting up well, there could be an issue. Okay. Now the other one is any discharge from the nipple. So if it is normal, serous, or like milk discharge, that's fine. If it is bloody, then there is a problem. Okay. And then there is the armpit, or what we call the axilla. If there is a lump in the axilla or in the armpit, then that could be signaling something. Okay? All right? And then, of course, there is a pain, the deep pain that is around the breast tissue. So that pain could also be signaling something. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Viewer, I hope you're learning as much as I am about breast cancer, that breast milk is not a tissue, and that one can also have a baby without even if your breast have been amputated due to breast cancer. Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa, or SMS line is 21144. We'll be back shortly.